Hey visionaries, Chris right here with Royal Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty. Buying and selling a home can be a stressful process, but we are here to help you throughout the way. Feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms at Royal Realty Group TX. Now enjoy the show with Cuff and Mo.
So first of all, we appreciate you answering social media inquiries. And shout out to the guys from Black Wealth Renaissance and Damien and that whole squad over there. I've been kind of paying attention to them for a while now, and then you popped up, and I thought, oh, no more OGs. And I have a theory on it. I was like, I can't wait to hear what this guy has to say about it. And I thought, oh, this is going to be really polarizing. We got to get him on the show. Like, I kind of agree with some of the stuff he's talking about. Yeah. And so, again, appreciate you answering the DM and hopping on the phone, and glad we can make this happen.
Absolutely.
Cuff, I think we should go ahead and roll this out. This is going to be fun. Go ahead, man.
What up, everybody? It's Cuff with the Vision Lab Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. The Vision Lab is the official growth mindset podcast for all visionaries worldwide, showing mad love to the cigar community, of course. It's here in the lab where we uncover people's visions and dreams and how those dreams actually come into reality. Yo, Mo, you picked a banger.
I did.
I'm excited about this, man. They say there's no more OGs out there.
I believe in it, too.
Let's go.
Cuff, today's guest is a native of Dallas, Texas. He's a real estate broker. He's a real estate investor. And most importantly, he is the host of the new podcast, the No More OGs podcast. Please welcome Tim Jackson to the Vision Lab Podcast.
Thank you.
What up, and good morning. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Thank y'all for having me here. You know, I check those inboxes, so a lot of people don't, but I read those messages from time to time.
We checked ours today, too. We got some good stuff via email, too. So shout out to that group who reached out to us earlier this afternoon.
That's dope.
Well, you just said it. That's dope, right? We got this book sitting here in front of you called Real Dope.
Yes.
So before we dig into No More OGs and what made me reach out to you, the thought process, the premise, like a quick synopsis in regards to the book Real Dope.
Absolutely. So Real Dope it's a play on words. It's real estate and the dope game. So, you know, the title is Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. It literally talks about exactly what it sounds like.
Now,
so
what you know about the dope game?
You got to read the book.
Okay. So you were prepared for that.
Yeah, you got to read the book, man. You threw it up there, I caught it, right? So, no, but essentially, man, you know, my theory is if you can sell dope, you can sell houses. And so, you know, I grew up in an area where I saw drugs being sold and done, you know, a lot. Now, not in my house, but, you know, a lot of family members were involved in drugs. A lot of friends were involved in drugs. And so when I came back from the military, you know, a lot of my friends, I got a job and then I got my real estate license. A lot of my friends were asking me, man, how you seem to be doing pretty well for yourself. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And the answer was always the same. And so to be honest with you, I just got tired of answering the question. And so my thing is, well, man, let me just put a book together. Like, I had no idea that the book would, you know, become what it was, you know, or what it is. But I just sat down over the weekend, wrote a book, made the comparisons.
Hold on, time out.
He said, you heard
he
it.
tried to do that to us?
Yep.
You know, I didn't really want to explain this anymore. I got tired of it. So you know what I did, Mo? I just sat down over a weekend
And wrote a book.
I just wrote a book.
Sat down over the weekend, wrote a book. You know, the book kind of talks about an internship that I did, so you guys will have to read that yourself. But and then just put it out there, you know. But essentially, I just break down the comparison. So, you know, to eliminate the excuse of not knowing, right? Because, you know, a lot of times people say, well, nobody ever taught me this.
Yeah.
And my thing is, well, you have the hustle inside of you. You just really just need a different vehicle to move it through, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, selling real estate is just like moving a brick. I mean, it's literally the same thing. You find a product, you break it down, you flip it, you sell it, you get more money, you buy more products. And so I just kind of did the play on words, and it worked. And my target audience were, street dudes, man, and people from the hood, So I've actually changed a lot of lives, man. I've had people call me and tell me they stopped selling dope because they found my book. My book is in the prison system, so a lot of guys in prison get it, come home and get into real estate investing. And, I teach little concepts of economics in there as well. So I just make it really simple. I have a background in education, my undergrad and part of my master's. So I wrote it at a fifth grade level so that anybody can comprehend it. So it's in the DISD catalog, and
Nice.
it's in schools, and I partner with a lot of different agencies to give them free books. So if they're in contact with people who are likely to go down this road, hey, before you do it, see what this is about.
Where can we get the book?
The book is on Amazon. So, if you go to my Instagram at Tim Jackson now, I have a link tree and you can literally click on it. But if you Google Real Dope Tim Jackson, it'll take you straight to Amazon. I used to have a whole website for it, but, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime. So you can literally get it the next day pretty much in any city. So I was shipping them out and signing them and all that stuff. And that just got old, man. It just got old.
So
yeah.
So with Real Dope, right? Your target audience, people that look like us, right?
Yeah.
And or people that that have been in the game. Where did that compassion and drive to help write something that the layman can understand? Where did that come from?
You know what, man? Like I said, I talk about my cousin in the book, and he went to prison, I believe, when he was 17 years old for a minor drug offense, and he got an 8-year sentence because he had a gun on him, and it was like, one of those things where if you have a gun on you, it's automatic 5 years. If you have drugs on you, it's so much time. And so at 17 years old, he got entered into the prison system, and he's just been in and out of the prison system his entire life. Like literally, he was spent more time in prison than he's been in the free world, and he's in his 40s.
Combo platter on him, huh?
Yeah, man. So and he's in his 40s now, and so I always thought to myself, like, if my favorite cousin would have had the information and the resources that I had, maybe he wouldn't have gotten that situation, because he was like that favorite big cousin. But it wasn't just him. It was a lot of different family members and friends that kind of got caught up in their lifestyle. And my thing was, man, let me provide an alternative. It's easy to say you don't know something if you've never been taught it. But then once you've been taught it, you can't unlearn it. And you're always loyal to the thought. You're always loyal to the person that gave you that idea. So if I can get in front of as many people and just say, man, all you doing is, I'm just moving. I'm just moving a brick, I'm employing. I got a whole team.
Runners.
I got my runners. I got
You got your corner
I got
boys?
my cookers. I got my corner boys. I got everybody, right? And I employ upwards of 9 people per flip. If you think about it, if it's a bad flip, I'm gonna need a roofer. I'm gonna need a plumber. I'm gonna need an electrician. I'm gonna need somebody who's gonna be doing my drywall. I'm gonna need somebody who's going to, do my floors. A lot of times people say, well, all these people, maybe one person can do all that. I've learned that you want to get somebody specialized in it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna need somebody to come in and do my landscaping. The landscaper may not be able to do sprinklers. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Then I'm gonna need, I'm a real estate broker, but I'm gonna need, a lender, for someone who, if I want to get someone in the house that I know, I'm gonna need an inspector. I may have to get it self-appraised. So that's 10 different entities right there. 10 families that are essentially impacted by me flipping this one house. And then, we don't like to flip. We like to do buy and hold. So now I'm providing affordable, housing to people in areas that, for lack of better words, aren't considered desirable to the people that are from there. To investors, it's very desirable, right? And so my thing is, if I can provide job opportunities plus affordable housing and put people in a position to, come up economically, then I've done my job. And so that's essentially the foundation of the book.
I absolutely love it. So, kid from Dallas,
Yep.
right? You go off to the military, you do your thing. Intelligent brother,
Yeah.
Articulate, well-spoken. What made you want to write this book from the perspective of, because you didn't have to do this, right?
Absolutely not.
You could just go out and do your own thing, obviously. What made you jump into real estate first?
I talk about it in the book, but I don't mind sharing this story. A friend of mine, everyone, I don't know where you all are from, but everyone remembers that person in school, and it could be you. Sophomore year, they had a new car. They always wore the best clothes. They just kind of had, their shit together as a teenager in high school. And so I had a
Definitely
friend
was
like
not me.
that, right? He said, definitely not me. But what I valued about this friend, what I peeped game was that, this friend's mother was always at events. And so my mother and stepfather worked typical 9 to 5 at jobs where they couldn't take off. When I would have events, they would come in their uniform, type stuff. And this friend's parent would be at pep rallies during the daytime at school. It's just like, man. So my thing was, man, what does your mom do for a living?
Right.
She's able to move around.
Where she can move around like that. And so she was like, my mom's a real estate broker. So this was back in the gap. This is when, you had the AOL CD and you had the, you got 15-minute internet, So, we didn't have Google back then. So, I'm that old, right? And so I had to go to the library at school and look it up. Like I literally had to research what a real estate broker was. And so I started diving into it. I was like, oh man, this person, essentially helps people with the largest purchase of their life. The average person who buys real estate, that's the largest purchase of their life, right? And so, and they give people opportunities. So it's like, all right, that's something I want to do. And I was always a hustler. I've been working since I was 10 years old, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? So I always wanted to make good money, and I saw the type of money they made. I was like, man, you do that just for selling a house, And so let me figure this out. So, the whole time I was in the military, I was like, as soon as I get home, I'm getting my real estate license. And I did it, And so I got it. Back then, I think you only had to wait 2 years to become a broker. So I satisfied that, got my broker's license. And, I got my broker's license maybe 4 years later because I worked in corporate. I had a corporate job. And I made good money, but
you knew what the ultimate vision was.
I knew what the goal was, man. I think I sold like a big deal, and I was like, man, my broker got 30% of that, like dollar bill on Players Club. That's why I get 30%, right?
Yeah,
so I'm just
yeah.
like, damn, So I said, I need to go ahead and get this license. So got the license, and then I started employing people that I knew from my community. Like my first hire was a guy that I knew from the 8th grade. Like we went to junior high school. I sold him his house. I sold his family members, like 4 of his family members' house. I'm like, man, state of Texas only lets me give you a $50 gift card. Why don't you just get your license and let me pay you a commission?
Wow.
He was like, all right. You know what I'm saying? So he was my first employee. Then I moved my business back to, the area where I grew up, and I started hiring people from my community, and it just kind of went from there.
Shout out to you.
You're speaking about community and
Yeah.
working with people who have worked with you for a long time. And before I kind of switch gears, allow me to say thank you to the folks at Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge, at Weena Brown, Jacoby, the entire staff there. Visionaries, check this commercial out real quick.
Hey everyone, Edwina Brown here, owner-operator of Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. We're located at 1604 North Interstate 35E in Lancaster, Texas. We would love for you to come see us. We stand on the 3 C's, which are cigars, our community, and our culture. Cigars, we have over 300 SKUs in our humidor, and it's still growing. Come check it out, a massive humidor. We also love our culture here, which we're about customer service, as well as community, which is why we're excited to partner with the Vision Lab podcast. So come check us out.
Once again, Visionaries, if you're anywhere in the southern part of the Metroplex, make sure you get the Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge, 1604 North I-35 in Lancaster, Texas. Great staff, great cigar selection, great ambiance. It's where you want to be, Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. So the reason we got you on the show is because you're the host of this very interesting name show. It's called the No More OGs podcast. And I have a theory just in regards to the concept of there are no more OGs.
Absolutely.
I want to know, what was the inspiration behind you creating it? And I know you're just getting it off the ground, but how have you been received so far? Because for those who have not heard, if you're not open-minded, you would deem it to be very polarizing. You would deem it to be blasphemous a little bit if you're subject to quote unquote the culture.
What's so funny is it's literally in direct contrast to this book. You know what I'm saying? So, I started working on a documentary this year, and we can talk about that a little later on. But in the process of working on the documentary and doing my research and just looking at, the things that I've done over the last, I would just say decade, because I'm 39 years old. Between the ages of 30 and 37, I work my purpose really, really strong, which put me in a position to retire at the age of 37. So, like you see my shirt, it says Purpose on Demand. That's my brand because I teach people about how to find their purpose because I retired at 37, right? Like once I start working my purpose. So, in the process, man, being a former zoning commissioner, being a former corporate trainer, having to play the political game and always be the nice guy, I realized that that's not really how it works anywhere. Like the person that's good in business is an asshole. Like I've been in rooms, man, with some of the most powerful people in this city. I can show you my phone right now. I've gotten emails, working cases, from some of the most powerful people in this city asking me to vote a certain way and asking for my support, right? And when they're asking for my vote, they're the nicest people you'll ever meet. But when it's time to be them, they're not nice guys, right? And I say that to say this: whenever you start addressing things in the culture, which I hate the culture.
I agree with you 100%.
I fucking hate the culture. Like I think that the culture is the most cancerous. What we call the culture is literally the most cancerous part of our being because it doesn't teach us anything. I say the 4 pillars of the culture is, get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, and kill niggas. That's the 4 pillars of the culture, right? Wow. Like every song you hear, every advertisement you see, everything related to the culture are those 4 pillars. And there's this veil of silence within our community. Like black people continuously have to be victimized. Like, on one side we're blaming, the system of white supremacy and, racism. But then on the other side is, the accountability aspect of it. Like if something bad happens in your community, you're not expected to say anything about it. You're just supposed to just take it. So it's like literally you're burning the candles at both ends and there's no recourse. At some point in the game, there's got to be some type of recourse, right? And so when I start peeling back the layers of like, I grew up respect your elders and this is that, and like old people are you got to do all that. Supposed to be valued. And I value my elders, but there was a lot of bad information passed down, not because our elders or older people were bad. It was just times were different. And when I start thinking about all the old people in my life, like the old guys, the old heads, the barbershop, type talk, man.
The dude that's in there all day long and ain't got a haircut.
I was just thinking about
the guy that knows every possible stat about every football game, but he doesn't know his credit score, doesn't own any property. Like that shit is only acceptable in our community.
Only's up during refund time.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but if you say that, oh, you talking down on black people. So a rapper can tell you to get high, get drunk, fuck bitches, and kill niggas, but I can't say, oh, that's not right.
Poking a nerve.
That's the culture.
Yeah.
And it's like we protect it. And honestly, man, like I said, I don't answer to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I always tell people I can't be canceled. I insulate my money. You know what I'm saying? Like people every time I come on these podcasts, they always ask me like, how many properties you got? And this is, I'm like, man, I don't disclose that kind of shit. Because when people get ready to attack you, they attack your ability to earn $1.
Right.
So I don't got no money. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? I live off the land, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna never find them LLCs, right? You ain't gonna never find them trusts. But the point I'm making is there's nobody really giving us game. And now the younger generation below me, I'm a millennial, generation after me, they don't even respect the baby boomers. They don't respect Generation X. They don't respect, none of those guys because they haven't given them anything. And so now you got a bunch of and I'm saying one more thing, I know I'm kind of ranting.
No,
but a lot of these old dudes, they want to be young. They're competing with 20-year-olds like Steven Jackson. Yep. I'll say him by name. Going to Chicago and checking in with a bunch of gang members that's in their teens and 20s and saying it's cool to check in. But O Block just got sold, according to reports. So now these guys are going to get moved up out their community. Why didn't you teach them how to buy the real estate? Why didn't you teach them how to better themselves? Like, that's bullshit. And I've called him out, and we went back and forth before on social media, but that's corny. That's corny. And nobody was saying, where's the camera? Everybody's scary as hell, man. Like these guys, and then I've been on TMZ with clients. I've had professional athlete clients, entertainer clients. Like these people ain't nobody special.
But he's got a cool job.
We just put them on. They have a talent. They have a talent that's above normal, but they're no different than us. So why do we hold them in such high regard? And so, these people, you're supposed to go into these communities and teach people how to be better, but you going in there upholding the standard of the streets, and you're a millionaire with a corporate job on television, and not just to pick on him, but anyone who subscribes to that. You just saw Fat Joe say, "Oh man, we need to stop all this violence. I can understand robbing a guy because I used to rob people, but just don't kill him." That's the stupidest shit ever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because we live in Texas, right?
You run up
You
on
know,
somebody,
the laws out here are a little bit different.
for sure.
You know, you run up on me like that, bad news gonna beat you home, right? And then you got a guy like me I'm a trained military. I deployed, man. I'm trained to spot a threat a mile away, right? You run up on me with that energy, it's not gonna be no. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to brag. I don't want nobody running up on me with that energy. You know,
as long as it's not a clear glass window.
as long as it's not clear, we're gonna leave that for the credits, right? but seriously though, like you're giving bad game. You're excusing one side of the, you know.
It's more. It's not even excusing. It's enabling.
It's enabling.
It's settling for less than your potential, right? And it's glorifying that. We're supposed
glorifying
to be down here at the bottom. When every other culture has come to this country and they figured out a way to rise, whether they've insulated themselves by, and I'm not going to call out a particular culture, but you know, they'll live 15 to one house, get everybody pull their money together. Then all of a sudden, 4, 5, 6 years later, now they all have cribs and they're repeating that cycle and they're buying up the whole block, or they're buying up, you know, franchises. I
agree. I will say this in all fairness, all right, because I you know, my background is in history, and you know, in all fairness, you know, the whole the rising tide lifts all boats. Black people were the catalyst of getting a lot of different immigrant groups to the country, because you know, if you think about, you know, the great migration of Black people, you know, in the 50s and the 60s, I had to write my thesis on this. So, you know, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, like many of the people left the South to go west, to go north. These weren't farmers. These were your most educated Black people. Right. And when they got to these areas, they weren't able to get employment. They were, you know, unions wouldn't give them work. So it's like, all right, well, what do we do then, right? So, I mean, a person's got to eat, right? And what happens is a lot of the things that were Black people were excluded from, different immigrant classes had access to. And, you know, we don't have to go too deep into it, but, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. And then you have to also remember that many of the immigrant people that come over here, they're the top of, you know, the people in their country. Because I've traveled to a lot of countries and I've debunked a whole lot of stereotypes about people from different countries, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget, I worked in a corporate setting for a Korean company. And, you know, I learned how they did things, you know, essentially from you graduate at 18, you go to the military, you know, until you're 20 or 21, then you go to college, then you move back home, you save up your money, then you get married between the ages of 29 and 32. Like, it's literally, you know,
an automated system.
Automated system, right? But you got to understand, like, when people have been set up to believe that there's literally no recourse because I don't get any, you know, justice on this side, and I can't really complain on this side either, what's the alternative? And people often like to say, well, man, that's, you know, this crab in the bucket mentality. Well, you got to ask yourself, you know, two questions. One, who put the crabs in the bucket? And two, what is the crab's natural habitat? And three, what does the bucket symbolize? The bucket symbolizes death, you know? So when I get put in that bucket, I'm getting ready to go get eaten. But people
got to get up out of here.
You got to get up out of here. So you're going to save yourself. So it's a little, you know, I understand what you're saying. With that being said, there's an accountability element. And no more OGs is the accountability element, right? I can't keep saying this person's doing this to me if I'm not putting together a strategy to combat that.
So the reason I found the name of the show so interesting, because I've had a theory on it.
Sure.
Like about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a town hall meeting at a junior college downtown. And it was it's like 4 or 5 retired NFL players, and they were speaking to the student body. Yeah. And just like they were asking, it was a room full of men. They were just asking like just basic questions to where like an 18 to 22-year-old, like if you had any type of solid male role model figure in your life, you should be able to kind of identify and have a conversation with another man about the stuff we were in there talking about. And the kids in there couldn't give they couldn't give solid answers back to these grown athletes saying like, "Oh, have you guys ever thought about this?" Or and I remember telling myself like, "Oh, I'm the last of a generation who actually had elder male role models."
Yep.
Like concepts like, you know, at the family reunion, if you're in the back with all the males, your uncles and your granddads and stuff like that, and they're playing dominoes, your job is to shut up, hold the pencil, and you speak when spoken to.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if your great grandmother or your grandmother says, "Hey, this is what we're about to do," everyone shuts up and be quiet. Like that they don't have those OGs, if you will, because all those OGs, like you said, are too busy trying to be with them.
They're trying to be young,
or they're gone.
Or they're gone, or you know what happens? They're burnt out.
Yep.
You want to
Absolutely.
because I ain't gonna lie, I was this close to being like, man, fuck this shit. You know, I done made my money. You know what Uncle Elroy say? You know, I love the hood, right? As soon as I got my money, I was gone, right? Like I posted that the other day, but it becomes a situation where you gotta leave people behind, and we don't say that in our culture. And you know what happens? You know, in other cultures, man,
People get left.
people get left.
Yeah.
But in our culture, it's like, oh, you know, it's this kumbaya mentality. Everyone must go. No, y'all.
Everyone can't go.
Everyone can't go, and everyone doesn't want to go.
Amen.
You understand what I'm saying?
But deeper than that, why would I allow you to hold me down to get me, further along my path?
Because
so I can't help other people.
We've been raised to man, I don't-
Lift as we climb.
exactly, and that's
That's an old Negro spiritual.
yeah, man. And you know what, man? Man, I'm about to give y'all a whole bunch of clips to get
Let's
this
go.
shit to go viral, man. Like, that's bad game. The church gave us a lot of bad game. I'm not crapping on nobody's religion because I've, grew up in churches. My first job was in a church. I played the drums for my church. That was my very first job. My uncle was my mentor. He taught me everything I know about money. The only thing he didn't teach me was about real estate because he hated real estate. But he taught me, my uncle was a millionaire, and we didn't know it until he died. But he was a millionaire, right? And so, but he taught me a lot of stuff that doesn't apply to the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like after I got out in the real world, I was like, man, that does not apply. Because it was more, have faith that this is going to happen and just sit back and wait type, And, faith without works is dead. Right? And so a lot of people miss that, when they quote that scripture. And I'm not quoting scriptures, to
Requires
be holy,
elbow
holy.
grease, baby.
You got to put in, right? And even in the streets, you got to put in work. That makes any sense to be validated. So at what point in the game are we as men gonna start saying this is my problem? Because let me tell you what, I got a son, and my son's at that age now where he's not a cute kid anymore. I was just thinking about this today. He turns 13 this year, and we were thinking about maybe going out, getting a room, maybe at the Gaylord Texan or at that other little resort out there. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I haven't invited some friends, and literally the first thing that came to my mind was, damn, like, what's going to be the response with 5 or 6 little black kids running around
In the Gaylord.
at the Gaylord, and everyone can't relate to that. And but that I had to think about that, right?
Well, you're conscious of the fact that him being 13, like he's getting really close to the point where he's about to see the world for what it really is.
Man.
He's knocking on the door of it, and you as a father, I'm sure you've already thought about this. There's only so much more I can kind of keep from him in regards to what reality really is.
And I explain that to him all the time. He got a taste of it when he was going to school in Plano because he was always the only black kid. And so everything he did was always magnified. Everything he did was always magnified. They didn't let him test for like tag, talented and gifted. Everything he did was magnified. So I'm petty, I I'm hella petty. Anyone who knows me, I'm petty, right? I signed up to be a substitute in his district and subbed every grade. And collected data on how they treated everyone, and I noticed I got time, right? I got
time and opportunity.
Yeah, and then I sat down with him. Then I showed up when I got done and put on my suit and put on my class ring because they see all the tattoos. They think I'm just some dummy. And I sat down with him and started revealing that my background is in education and I'm quoting Piaget's model of learning and the inconsistencies of. And they were sitting there like, who the fuck is this guy, right? And then after that, I took him out and literally, we relocated and I moved back to Dallas. And I'll never forget him walking to a classroom and not being the only black kid. It was like a culture shock. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so he's learning, the role, but he's also learned he's learning the role that certain systems play, but he's also learning not to use that as a crutch because if that were the case, then everybody black would be struggling. But I was saying, and I'll conclude until we go to the next question, a lot of guys just get tired of trying to convince people because it's like within our communities, I can't speak for you all, but I can speak for myself and others. We're typically like the patriarchs of the whole family. Like, okay, Tim's doing well for himself, so, that's the person that people call on when they have money problems or questions and stuff like that. And it shouldn't be like that. There should be someone in every household that's producing, a significant amount of money who has assets. So when stuff pops off, we can get it knocked out. We can get it knocked out because people who have assets don't get disenfranchised. They just don't because they can fight the system.
So where did the disconnect come? Because you started talking about the church, right? And misnomers or bad information, whatever you want to call it.
Let me say this. I'm not here to crap on the church per se. Like I learned so much discipline, through my church, being employed, stuff like that. So I'm not that guy, right? But we pass down, what's the word? We pass down traditions that don't apply today.
What do you mean by that?
Shit, you trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like certain things that we're taught, it just doesn't apply today. Like
go to college. No,
I mean, just
put it out there. I know you. I know you don't have a. Well, hold on. I know you don't have a break button.
It's an ambiguous term. It's ambiguous, but people who go to church know what I'm talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? You go to church, you like, man, all right. You know what I'm saying? This little light of mine, right? But at the end of the day, like you leaving and you doing something else and you ask for forgiveness, right?
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was always taught like never shack up with a woman.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that just didn't work out for me, man. Like, you
need a test ride first.
I mean, I got a test ride that car for, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just was what it worked out. Like me and my wife have been together for, together 10 years, but we hit 6 years. Like it was mandatory for us to live together because, previous relationships, man, it just didn't work out, you know? You got to be realistic, man. Like, you just have to be realistic. And some of the principles, a lot of people don't relate to them because they're not, people take things a little bit too literal. Like I've actually read the Bible 3 times, right? So, because that's why I grew up as a Christian, right?
Right.
So I understand that a lot of things are, it's parables. It's showing you different ways to do things. You got to make adjustments though to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know them church folks gonna be in my inbox. No, Jeremiah 1. They be in there already, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying this to say, a lot of things that we're taught, like, get a good job.
Yep, and get
you a good job, go to school,
get an education, get a good job, save your money.
That shit don't work.
No,
today.
It doesn't. I 100%.
You can never save yourself to be wealthy. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. You can save every check you have for your 30-year career, and inflation will eat it up.
Yep.
Right? You have to invest. You have to have credit. If you want to make money, you got to charge interest. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the Bible say you shouldn't charge interest, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, man, and it's just like saving like getting a good job. My mother worked her job. She's been on her job for 40 years. And they've been trying to fire her for the last 10 years, man. You know what I'm saying? But
she's like, my son done made it. I don't care what y'all do.
She ain't gonna ever quit. Like, we've been trying to get her to quit forever. Like, my mom don't have no debt, nothing. But that's a part of, that. And it's like, she's like, I like to work. I'm good at what I do. They've been trying to get rid of her, but she has a good union. But back in the day, it was like, you graduate, get you a good job down at the city or with the government, and you work it because those were the only entities that didn't discriminate, openly. And you get that gold watch after 30 years and you leave, and they don't even have a gold watch no more, man. Most of the pensions are eating up, you know what I'm saying?
You're lucky if you get a pen or a plaque.
Bruh.
So the gap, let's talk about that. How did the disparity come within our community? And really, it's knowledge-based more than anything, right? Like the finance comes from having the knowledge and then applying the knowledge to whatever it is that you're trying to do. So where did the gap come from?
Technology.
Okay.
Technology has exposed a lot of things about our culture. Because like I said, when I found out what a real estate broker was, I had to go home, go to sleep, get up next morning, go to the library early. I had to get to school early to go to the library. Like, I had to check out a book, you know what I'm saying? Then I had to read the book. I mean, literally, kids nowadays have instant access to everything. And what they're learning through that instant access, that a lot of stuff that they've been taught is bullshit. And the people that have been teaching them these things, they don't have anything, they don't own anything, they don't have anything to offer.
How you gonna teach me something? So
there's the kids now, they when I say kids, I mean like anyone watching this at this time that's under 25. Like, they don't respect older guys unless you got your shit together. Yeah. That's just it. And they ask. They don't care. They'll ask you.
Because this is the age of that age, I guess 18 to 25. These are the people who've seen people literally make money without having to subscribe to that.
Bro.
You know, go to school or graduate high school, go to college, get educated, get a job. And they're like as you always say, why would I do that when I can just sit in my room, make a couple YouTube videos for a couple months, and I'm a millionaire at 18 and a half
Can I
years old?
piggyback on that?
Why would I listen to
Why
somebody?
should they?
Why would I listen to a 35-year-old tell me to go to college?
And a lot of the older dudes hate on that.
Oh, absolutely. Can't stand it.
They can't stand it. They hate on it so much when they see these 25-year-olds pulling up in Lamborghinis and, have high rise. They hate it.
In their mind, you skipped the line.
You skip the line. I ask them how they do it. Like, because I have this old school mentality. And the way I changed and transformed my business was I literally stopped running my business like a real estate company. I started running it like a law firm. Like, I literally stepped away from the whole cookie cutter, this is how you run a real estate office. And I brought an attorney into my office and literally just start going to events with her, sponsoring the events for the attorneys. Like, we sponsored Christmas parties, we would do stuff. And I noticed that, like, you think about, like, you watch morning TV, all those, corny, commercials for the attorneys. Like, that stuff works, right? And so I started implementing that stuff in my business, and it actually started working because people wanted to see something new, and it got me a lot of success, right? But I had to literally go seek out what I wanted to get. And all the people that I knew that were super successful, they weren't real estate agents, they were attorneys. You see what I'm saying? So I say that to say, a lot of these old dudes, like, instead of saying, oh man, y'all got it easy, we got it out the mud. Like, in our culture, we glorify struggle. And this newer generation, they don't want to struggle. I always say how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
41.
Okay.
38.
All right. So I always say we're raising a bunch of soft-ass kids.
Yeah.
Because we were the generation that had to get it out the mud, so to speak. So
The last ones.
So mentality is saying, I don't want my kids to suffer. But what's happening is we're raising a bunch of entitled kids. So like, I go out of my way to tell my son no 10 times a day. Like, it could be the most simplest thing. I'm like, nope, nope. You can't have everything you want, because when you get out into the real world, you can't. And then
And they get everything else at their fingertips anyway.
Yeah.
But if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to do it.
And he always does.
Yeah. So now you got to ask 9 more times.
He always gets it. Like, he's getting it. He's kind of catching on, but that's what I want him to do. I want him to be able to be rejected, be rejectable. Because the one thing about these kids today is they don't know how to be rejected.
Facts.
Like, they cannot take rejection whatsoever.
We were talking, I can't remember who it was, but maybe it was an interview that I was watching with coaches in today's time, right? Like, you got NIL and all this stuff, right? So this kid may be making $1 million off of his NIL deal.
Yeah.
Coach is making,
30.
yeah. Like, what you gonna tell me, man? So that respect factor is gone,
going out the
just
window,
based off
man.
of the money, right? But the problem is kids don't know how to be told no. They don't know how to be dejected or rejected, And I since
They
this
can't
is
handle it. Then it turns
everybody's
like
too sensitive.
We come from
it
the-
turns into a mental health issue.
Let me tell you
Say,
something.
listen.
This is.
And
no,
you
hey,
can't even joke about that.
No, I'm not joking about
Yeah.
it. My wife works in mental health.
Yeah.
But like, there's a difference between like, okay, I have something mentally wrong versus like, no, you just got told no, or somebody just told you like, no, you can do it better, and you just not being able to handle it.
And when I say you can't joke about that, I'm not condemning you. I'm saying literally, if you say that out loud, people be like, don't say that. Like, even in the military
let me
now.
give you a great example.
Please.
We're all relatively the same age,
Yeah.
right? When does so many people come up with peanut allergies? Okay? It irks me to no end, because my daughter, right? She goes to school, can't bring any type of nuts because so-and-so has a nut. Like, when did all this come about?
We just had a stuffy nose, man.
You know what I'm saying? Put some Vicks Vapor Rub and call it a day. Put some tussin on it.
Some tussin, right? No.
But I say that tongue in cheek, right?
Right.
Because that is where our society is now. Everybody has rights, and yes, you do. I get that. But my point is, we're so sensitive to the point that you can't be told no. You can't face objections, or you don't know how to overcome objections.
Society is an echo chamber.
Yes, it is.
Everyone wants you to agree with them. And it's like, there's certain things I'm just not going to bend on, specifically with this culture. Like, I am not excusing people that say it's okay to rob people but not kill them. Like, that's the dumbest, goofiest shit in the world. And everyone's afraid to say it. I'm not, right? But if I disagree with you, typically, if I'm scrolling through your page and I see something I don't agree with, you know what I do? I just keep scrolling. Like, I don't have to stop and tell you how wrong you are.
Oh, but we do.
And it's like, and the first thing they say to me, well, what's your track record? This is like,
And you're like, well, you really don't want to do that,
but even if I tell them, even if I write that long response, they'll come back and say, that's cap, or, and, and I have a research degree. So it's just like, people don't do research.
Yeah.
You don't care.
You were talking earlier offline about research, how to go find it. I want to jump into that.
Sure, let's do it.
What resources? Because most people are just going to go to Google. Never going to go past that first page. How do people research what they want?
Honestly, I was talking about this with someone the other day, and I essentially said that no matter what you're looking for, you're going to find a bunch of people who say they can do it, and they're going to give you different ways. They all work. You just have to do the work. Mm-hmm. And whenever I consult people or whenever people take my courses, I always tell them up front, I don't need your money. So don't come over here half doing something just because you stopped because you heard someone else say something. Like when I was selling houses full time, some of the worst people to sell houses to were people my age whose parents bought a house in the 90s.
Why?
Because they knew everything.
Because interest rates were 10% then, right? Case in point, I bought my house in an area of Dallas, and my mother used to deliver mail over there.
Okay.
When she worked, as a mail carrier. And she said, I would never pay that much money for that house. I remember when those houses were selling for $90,000. I would never pay, I'll just say $250,000 for that because, back in the 80s when this house was built.
Back in my day.
That $250,000 house is damn near doubled in price. But my mother, until this day, she would never pay that much for a house. Does that make sense? So it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's like that whole, and then nothing against her, but that's just their mentality. Like, she also had a mortgage for 10% for almost 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, that's
Mom's kind of gangster though, paying at 10% and getting it paid off.
all they care about is the payment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
You could have told them, hey, you get this mortgage for 50 years. Like, we just want the payment at X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Everything else be damned.
Yeah, I couldn't do that, man. Like I could never do a 30-year mortgage.
Just look around like dudes driving nice cars and living in shacks because, I got this fly car and I got to pay him for $200 a month. But your interest rate's out there. You know what? I don't care.
I was an underwriter for auto financing, man. It was one of those jobs that I went home and drunk every night. It was the most it was the most miserable job. You know what I'm saying?
No, it is, bro. And right now, these times where, inflation's up, interest rates are on the rise, it is, because I work in lending, right? It's depressing. And, today, as a matter of fact, and I was talking to my VP and was like, yo, like I promise you 10 calls in a row, 500 credit score, sub 600 credit score, 500 credit score, 450 something credit score. And then you start to really look at it. I would say out of those 10 calls, 8 of them were of our culture. You know what I'm saying? 8 of them were us. You know what I mean? And that's now. And so information is out there. How do we research to get better? How do we research to get into real estate? How do we research to do whatever? I think you have some really valuable resources that allow people to
absolutely
learn how to do research.
First thing, you got to want it. I say something very controversial. I say, black people have money for everything but life insurance, attorney fees, and bail money. Right? We can go out
and funerals.
Yeah. Oh, I got drugged through the mud when I said GoFundMe is not life insurance one day. You're an elite. You're an elitist. I'm not an elitist. GoFundMe is not life insurance. Because I'm that dude. I'm weird, man. Like, this is going to sound so bad.
Wills and trust in that list, too.
Wills and trust. We gave our parents, me and my wife gave both of our moms a will and a trust for Mother's Day one year. And
they both let y'all sideways, didn't they? They were extremely happy because my mom ain't nobody gonna be fighting over the fur coat when she died. You know what I'm saying? Right?
That's my sleeve.
But I lost my train of thought. But what?
Funerals.
Oh, okay. I said so. People have money for everything, right? And my thing is, you got to shift your focus on what you're spending your money on. So let's talk about your situation where you were talking about the credit. When I got into real estate. Same thing. People would call me, Tim, I want to get a house. Hey, talk to my lender. Lender called me back. The credit sucks. This happened 8 out of 10 times. So I literally start researching credit repair. And I found some books and I learned how to fix credit. I taught myself how to fix credit through trial and error, right? So then I took that same course and just gave it away to my clients and just said, hey, you take this course, come back and see me 30 days, 60 days. And in many cases, all they really needed to do was pay down a couple of credit cards. Utilization. Most times, I would say 75% of the times it was utilization.
Call up the creditor. Hey, need you to raise my limit.
Raise my limit. It's simple stuff.
People don't realize it. I had this conversation like 4 times a day.
Yeah. And so like I actually like on my website now, on my link tree on Instagram, like there's a free credit course. Like it's called Never Pay for Credit Repair Again, where I give out like 70 dispute letters. I walk you through a 10-day process, a 10-day credit challenge, where literally I teach you everything you need to know about credit from start to finish.
And now let me ask you this for anybody that's tuning in. By the way, if you're still watching, thanks for your love and support. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We've got some bangers right now. Got a lot of gems being thrown out. The content that you have on your link tree for the credit repair, is it up to date?
100%.
I need people to know that, though, right? This isn't something that, even if you did it 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago, it's up to date now.
Absolutely. It all works. It's utilization. It's, the 5 pillars of credit,
What are they?
Man, you put me on the spot now. So it's like
rolling, brother.
So payment history, utilization, new credit, types of credit, and then the other one's inquiries.
And length, too,
Yeah, types and length, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then inquiries. So, 35% of your credit score is based on your payment history. Yep. Literally, you can have perfect credit and miss one payment and your score will tank. The next is utilization. That's 30%. So I had a friend call me one time, like, Tim, I went to go get a truck. They told me my payment's going to be, damn near $700 a month. I've never been late. Can you look at my credit and tell me what's going on? He had 4 credit cards that were all maxed out. His highest limit was $500, $200. I said, bro, pay him down. He didn't even have $1,000 worth of credit.
He didn't even have to pay it down. He could have just called and got them to increase the
that
limit.
Too. I said, just pay it down to 10% or 30%. And the next month he went up there and he went from a 520 something to like a 770.
Yeah. So the magic numbers for those that are listening, you really want to keep everything under 10% if possible, but don't, then 30%, then 50%, and never 100%. Never. So 10, 30, 50, 100, right?
Yeah.
Never go over.
So it's just teaching people that it's finding what you want and then paying for the information. Like, I'm a trainer. I'm a corporate trainer. That was my background. So, and underwriting and stuff like that. So I love courses. I buy courses all the time. I'm literally doing a 30-day career change challenge right now, where this month I'm doing like starting a cleaning business without having to clean houses. So I bought this course and I'm learning how to do it. And the business will be launched by the end of this month. And then the next month I'm going to do government contracts, how to become a government contractor, how to do mobile notary. Like, you just got to want it. And, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, they want the cherry on top, but they're not willing to bake the cake. Mm-hmm. They want to shine, but they don't want to grind. Like, when people call me and say, Tim, can you help me? What they really mean is, Tim, can I have your business?
Yeah.
Like, can you just give me a portion of your business and I can just sit back and be retired like you? It's like, no, man. Like,
I work for this.
I'm like the Bubba Gump of ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell you how to make ramen noodles like 100 different ways. That's how broke I was at one point in my life, man. Like, I literally sold my car, rented out my house, moved back home, downsized my life completely to pay off all of my debt and then start investing in real estate.
How do you do that if you are married and have kids?
Shit, you do it. Like, you find somebody that's gonna work with you, or you just make the sacrifice. Like,
it's either you want it
somebody.
or you don't.
So no matter what I say, someone's gonna come and say, "Well, my situation, your ass."
It's always an outlier.
First of all, watch this. So this is hilarious. Everybody that calls, and let me tell you about my situation.
Let me tell you
like your situation is different.
Here's the deal. All right, so I have a unique situation. No, you don't.
No, you don't, man.
I've already heard this 3 times today, and it's not even 11 o'clock.
I tell people they're not special. Yeah. Like, all the time. Like man, there's nothing special about you. Like, you're not unique. Like, there's 350 million people that live in the United States. You think you're the only person that missed a credit card payment? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. So what happens is, like, people just want to they want to be special. And, like, man, plan a plan. Get you a plan. You know, like take care of that plant, man. You know, that plant, you know, I don't know. Like
What's a plant got to do?
exactly. You know, nothing. It has nothing to do with the work.
Right.
You know, people always say they don't have access. I always tell people if you broke, man, sell your iPhone. You got a $1,200 phone and you talking about you broke. You ain't too broke. It's the priorities. But if you say that to people within our culture, oh, you talking down. No, I'm not talking down. It's time to come up. It's time to throw away those old ideas and ideals that we subscribe to that ain't got us shit.
Or pass up the next couple Jordan releases.
Trim the fat is what you're saying.
You can't say that though, right? You
was
can't
gonna
say
say
that
that
because I mean I need to have there's this obligation that people feel like they need to have a good life. Like
Say that again.
there's people think that they're obligated to have a good life. And then it's a catch-22 because then when you actually bust your ass and then you come around these people that don't want to work, oh, he thinks he's better than us. I tried to bring you along. I've literally been telling you, giving you the blueprint. I've been teaching this shit for free for damn near 2 decades.
Why do you teach it for free?
Because I like to eliminate excuses. I'm petty. I like to remind people.
Now, when nobody can come back to him and be like, man, I would have done it, but you was trying to charge too much, man.
No, I want to remind people like if you can't pay $100 to learn $20,000 worth of information, you deserve to be broke. You deserve to be struggling. Like nobody owes you shit. You know what I'm saying? Like go out there and get it. You know what I'm saying? Join the military, man. I don't even advocate for it, you know, even though I went. But if that's what you got to do, do it. And then people, well, I got a kid and I can't, man. You drop them kids off at your mama house and you want to go to the club.
Or go back home and play Xbox.
Or go play Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Like people always find the problem in the solution. And it's just like, nah, man. So that's why you got to separate yourself from people. I know you know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%. Mo?
Oh, man. Have we ever reached that time?
Well, I want to get into the actual podcast.
Man,
right?
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, come on.
Because I know that we got such great energy
Yeah.
and a lot of great dialogue
means.
going on. So, first of all, what's the name of your podcast?
So the podcast is No More OGs. I literally just launched it. I've done about 7 or 8 interviews. Actually, more than that because I went to an event this weekend and did like on-the-spot interviews. I'll start rolling out the episodes. By the time this is out, the episodes will be out.
Okay. And what's the podcast about?
It's essentially talking to people within the culture, within the community who've actually obtained and achieved success without getting into the typical stereotypical shit that, you know, go play a sport, sing a song, do a dance, you know, entertain.
Okay.
And so I'm bringing real life people like your everyday millionaire. You know, that person that's
The ones who are millionaires you wouldn't even know.
you
about
would
it.
never even know it. All of my mentors, I took my mentor and his wife to dinner over the weekend. I said, hey, man, he's a millionaire. I said, man, you pick the spot. So I'm thinking he's going to pick like some fancy steakhouse. We went to Cheddar's. Right? Like, I spent $65 at Cheddar's with the tip. And I left with 3 plays that'll make me probably $1 million each.
Gotta love it.
You know what I'm saying? And he gave them to me. He's like, hey, you know, I noticed that you're doing this. Do this instead. He's doing it. So he's not going to give me bad information. So it's like, you know, like when you get the information, do right by it, right? A lot of people hoard the information. Or they're scholars of life, but they're not appliers of life, right? You know, these people that sit up on social media all day and tell you how wrong you are.
Is it that they're hoarding the information, or is it that sometimes, and you know, either one you can answer this, is it that it's not hoarding the information, or is it sometimes you find yourself in a space where like, I could give this person this nugget, but you as a person who's holding the nugget be like, man, they're not.
Oh, no.
they're
What
not
I was
gonna
talking about the
value
people who call you and say, hey, how you do this? And you give them the blueprint. They hang up and then they call you. And they say, man, how you do this? And they hang up and they call me. They've called 7 people and asked the same question. And they sit back, well, I don't know what to do. You just talked to 5 different people that told you exactly what to do. Like, get up off your ass, you know? So the whole concept is to show you these people to eliminate the excuses while trolling some of the stuff in the culture.
Are we lazy or are we scared?
I think that people are afraid to look dumb sometimes. Fear of failure. I have a mentoring program, and a lot of kids don't like to fail, and we teach them that you have to fail. Like I play baseball, so you know, a person that bats 300 strikes out 7 out of 10 times, right? But they make $25 million a year. You know what I'm saying? So it's
low
like,
end right about now too.
huh?
On the low end.
On the low end, right? So it's like I was always taught failure. I've made more money in business off my failures. I've ever made all my success. I can't even remember most of my successes. But man, I can remember those failures because it teaches you what not to do. So we have to retrain our mind to get out there and look stupid. Like, just people are not gonna even be thinking about you tomorrow.
I've heard that people in venture capital. I heard a lady who's in venture capital, and she said the biggest lesson that she would give to somebody. She's like, "Yeah, hurry up and fail. Like, hurry up and get to it.
What was it? Run to failure.
Fail early, fail often.
Yeah. Run to failure.
Yeah, all in the same.
Was that Paul? It was somebody that said run to failure. We hadn't.
I think you're right. It might have been Paul. I just remember listening to a show, lady, and she was in venture capital out in Silicon Valley, and the host asked her like, what would be her biggest lesson or piece of wisdom she would give to somebody? She's like, yeah, hurry up and fail.
You know the thing about it, life is a continuum, right?
Yes.
And people they think that what's happening right here, right now is the end.
It's forever.
It's not.
It's not at all.
You fell, you ran into a glass.
He ain't gonna let you make it on that one, boy.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? And you love to say this, the sun comes up the next day, right?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
what people, visionaries, what I need you to understand, what Tim is talking about, what we've been preaching on this show for years is that you got to run to failure, seek failure. If you fall, it's all good. You're going to get back up. So what your credit's down the tubes? You know what I mean? So what you're broke right now? It does not matter. As long as you are willing to grow, willing to learn, willing to apply the knowledge that you've learned and take action, good things will happen.
Did y'all watch The Wire?
Oh, yeah. Come on.
So one of my favorite scenes is when Brother Muzan comes back and he sees Omar in the alley. And they have that whole standoff where they're taking out their gun and, they're talking about, Brother Muzan getting set up. And he said, Muzan said to Omar, he says, I bet you knew I would come. And Omar said, waiting on you is like waiting on the sun to come up. Like, it's going to happen.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, right? And it's like people get so afraid. And my thing is, I'd rather you try and figure out what to do than to sit back and become a victim of your circumstance. Like letting the grass grow under your feet. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's mindset, man.
Get in motion. Or as young people say, get active.
But also you gotta show people what it looks like. And that's what this podcast is. Like even with our mentoring program, we take our boys to travel. We take them out of Dallas so they can see what life looks like, outside their city, because the way we do things in Dallas may not be the same way they do it in Philly. It might not be the same way they do it in California. And you could learn something from them that you can apply to your life. So it's just giving people a platform to say, man, I didn't know you could do that. Like I can show you my inbox. There's so many people like, man, I never thought about that. Like, yeah, I'm exposing you to something, man, because once I cut that light on you, it's going to be hard to turn off.
We'll talk about this offline, but I got to give them my 3 E's.
It's 4.
4 E's. I'm sorry. Yeah, my 4 E's. No, it's not. It's 3
4.
E's. You say somebody else added.
Jay Scott's is 4.
Yeah.
We want
Mine is 3 E's. We'll talk about that.
It's like the restaurant that started with I or E. Is that one?
But okay, so when's the podcast going to be airing? I know.
So I already have an episode out. If you go to,
but I mean, like, what's the cadence on?
Man,
Tuesdays?
you know what? My thing is for the first episodes is to drop one every day, and then I'll probably come back like every Tuesday and Thursday. Because I'm going to be creating content. I create content daily, right?
Right.
So like having a guest maybe once a week, but like Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're going to see something at least every Tuesday and Thursday. So people can know that I can show up at least on those days. But more likely I'll put out little clips every day.
And where can they follow you or find you?
Absolutely. So my primary page is at Tim Jackson Now. So you can find me anywhere, Instagram primarily. And then at No More OGs on Instagram. Follow that page, man. We hit 1,000 subscribers within 30 days, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And so the goal is to get to 10,000 by, Thanksgiving. So I think we can do it because I think people are super sick of, sitting back, like being a victim to this culture.
Yeah. And then you're going to have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel already. It's a few subscribers, like 26. Like, 'cause we put out an interview of this 16-year-old kid who's like an entrepreneur and he's doing pretty well. So if you go to YouTube now, you can see that. But by the time this airs, there'll be a lot more episodes on that.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think we've reached that time, partner. Tim, your cup for you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We have reached this part of the show. We call it Landing the Plane. It is brought to you by the good folks at Sagamore Spirit. Shout out to Tim, Mr. Kevin Plank, the entire staff at Sagamore for this partnership. We've enjoyed the product. Our guests enjoy the product. Visionaries, you know, we don't have anything on the show unless we stand by it. We stand by this for a reason. Get to your fellow or your neighborhood specs, goodies, Seagulls, whatever your liquor store choice is, and make sure you ask them for Sagamore Spirit.
There are a few hard truths to whiskey that most brands don't like to admit. First, there's a lot of it. And second, despite its lore and romance, whiskey is often complex and intimidating. Is that high or low proof? Toasted or charred? Aged or finished? Straight or blended? Imported or American? Endless options, endless questions, endless confusion. But there is a whiskey out there that makes selecting it simple. An exceptional spirit made with local ingredients and committed to its communities. That's us. That's Sagamore Spirit. Sagamore Spirit has been and always will be more than just whiskey. Our work, your work, is greater than the sum of its parts. Keep the momentum moving. And one more thing, it's whiskey. Have fun with it.
There you go. All good. There you go. So, as we land the plane, the question we ask everybody on the show, it's you. There's a round table, and there are 5 other seats. You get to have any 5 people join you at the table. The only stipulation is that you can't have God at your table. Outside of that, dead or alive, who do you want?
Man. Oh, man. 5 people that can join me at the table. I would say my uncle that I was telling you about, that I grew up with, I would have him at the table. All the people are going to probably be dead.
Doesn't matter.
My grandmother, I would have her at the table. Let's see. Let me see. That's a blast from the past. I probably have my son there at the table with me, so that he can get some of that wisdom that I grew up getting. Magic Johnson. I'll probably get Magic Johnson at the table. I recently saw Magic Johnson speak.
I don't think anybody said Magic. Everyone always says like MJ.
No,
Ron.
Magic Johnson, man. I attended an event with him. I was just so impressed, man. Like Magic Johnson, and then because I'm a baseball guy, A-Rod.
Really? We've never had A-Rod?
A-Rod. I would say A-Rod.
Nobody just. We hadn't interviewed anybody who wants A-Rod. There's no shot at you. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
Like, but yeah, I think
We do a
A-Rod.
deal where we have a sip once we hear a new name.
Yeah.
You know, after 4 years, we've heard a lot of names.
A-Rod's been a pariah for a little bit, boss. He's just now kind of coming back around when people are halfway trying.
But
to
you know what,
accept
man?
fucking rejected.
A-Rod
Yeah,
is.
he got his social capital back up,
God,
but
please.
and then he screwed that up.
Between them and the Kardashians, boy, they will destroy.
A-Rod is a genius, though. Like if if you just think about what he did in baseball during the steroid era, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody was juicing, but even without the juice, man, that dude, even
he
with
was uber talented.
he
Absolutely.
was. But you look at what he's done in business,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I think a lot of people who, if you're not really tuned in, he's a monster when it comes.
he's
to
a
real
monster.
estate.
And so Magic Johnson too. There's a few other guys, but I've actually met a lot of the people that I admire. Believe it or not.
So I met A-Rod.
Yeah.
I had an internship with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Back in the day. It was actually the year he got traded from Seattle and the Rangers picked him up.
Yeah.
It was his first. I'm sorry. He had left the Rangers and gone to New York.
Yeah.
And he was coming back for the very first time. And we're, they got a whole bunch of press out there. And this dude, this is, it is what it is. But I watched him come in. He is a massive.
Yeah, he's
human being.
gigantic.
His quads and thighs like freaking boulders. Dude is huge. Mm-hmm. So talk about that steroid era.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. Like I said, I played baseball, so but those are my 5, man. Those are my 5. There's a few other people, but
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
ask everybody. Everybody's got
people gonna be
different
hating on me. People, oh man, why you didn't choose a black
Well,
person?
you
You know,
ain't hating. You got Magic.
I got Magic.
What
yeah.
you saying now?
Yeah. That's who I would want to have a conversation with. But yeah, that's it.
So, first of all, big shout out to my partner for making this happen. Thank you for being on the show.
One thing with the No More OGs platform that we didn't get a chance to talk about is the documentary that we're putting out. So we've done all the filming and now we're in production. It's called How to Kill a Black Man. So everyone has that same reaction. So It's a great title.
Yeah.
But essentially, I'm going to go through the culture and different things that keep black men in certain positions, right? And No More OGs is going to be the face that pushes that. So, you know, I'm a black man, so I talk about a lot of black issues. But I always tell people, if you can solve the problem of the black man, you can solve the problem of the world. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no recourse within. There's no black boy magic. Like when I go into a lot of schools, I talk to a lot of kids. There's nobody helping black boys. Like we kind of have to fend for ourselves. We got to figure that shit out. Like, and people won't say that out loud.
Well, I heard you say it's in pockets, right? Like every now and then. No, I shouldn't say every now and then. Like you see a lot of, I guess you what you call it, grassroots efforts in certain pockets. But as you putting, like when it comes to like massive across the board, no, it's still nowhere near where
It's parsed out.
Yeah, we fall in that gray area, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then the narrative with black people isn't to uplift black boys right now. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean,
and I have a daughter and a son, so.
Like, I mean, I went to an event last week, and it was about, like, and we can all appreciate this as people in real estate. It was all about empowering, and you'll like this, empowering developers of color.
Yeah.
Real estate developers of color. And they were like, you know, a certain banking entity was there and like, oh, we're gonna donate $500,000 to this fund. And I'm in the back of the room like, what is $500,000? Like, if you dignitaries in here are really serious about really putting your money where you say your mouth is, like, no, create a fund where these developers can actually go buy the dirt and work their way up. But you know, what's $500,000?
It's too much like right.
Come on now.
You know,
what's $500,000 to you as a bank? You guys gonna write that off tomorrow? Like, come on, stop.
Banks make that in interest a minute. A lot of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it is what it is.
It's
right?
a corporate retreat.
But I got reached. An insurance company reached out to me to speak, and man, I threw this really large number out there to speak, and they're like, "All right, we'll get back to you." You know, it's just like, it's an insurance company and a banking, mutual fund company. Like, y'all got it.
Yeah,
your CEO is worth, $500 million.
Yeah,
you got it.
Yeah.
You got my price.
Yep.
You call me.
Facts. Facts. All right, so we have two more questions.
Sure.
What's the long-term vision for one Timothy Jackson?
The long-term vision is to retire again. So
you're going to retire from retiring?
Yeah.
So does that mean you're going back to work?
So what I'm doing right now,
I'm going to quit from quitting. And wake up and just do nothing.
So from 30 to 37, I probably worked so much. Like, it was crazy. And then I took a break. And so now I'm literally just relearning life. Like, I'm learning as many different industries as I can, because when I go out and speak, I want to be able to speak to the possibilities. I'm really big on trades. So, the trades, like people are running away from trades, but have you tried to hire a contractor lately? Man, we did like a simple renovation on our personal property. It's like $40,000 for like some closets, the kitchen, and a couple bathrooms. $40,000. That was a $20,000 job a few years ago, but labor and material, right? And they didn't even do the best job, right? So why can't we get some of that money? So like, I'm going on this whole thing where I'm learning new industries, creating content around it, and helping people get into different industries. Like, I put so many people in real estate here in Dallas. I put so many people in inspections. It's like, all right, let me step outside of real estate and learn something else. And then I want to diversify, like that whole 7 streams. Mm-hmm. I've got a few streams, but I really want to diversify to where I'm, making 25% of, a company that I don't have to do anything in. Hire a general manager, have employees, and just sit back and collect anywhere from 15 to 25%. Like, that's the goal, to do that with 10 or 15 different companies. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that's it. And what was the second question? Did I miss it?
That was it.
Okay.
So that was the long-term vision.
Long-term vision is to retire again at the age of 45.
Okay. Now, we asked this question in case you don't realize. Yeah. We do have a magical time machine here in the lab.
Okay.
Okay. What advice would you be giving yourself from 5 years ago?
I asked the same question, right?
Okay.
Pull out. No, I'm messing with you. I'm joking with you, man. It's a joke.
Facts.
No, all jokes aside, spend more money on advertising. Like, literally, the more money you spend, the more money you make. I was cheap when it came to advertising. I felt like I had to do everything myself. Just throw more money at it. Make the right hire, but spend more money on advertising. because one thing that I see a lot in our community is people come have a business and then they post it on social media and they say, nobody's supporting me.
Don't nobody know you're there.
The algorithm is not going to show your post. And we don't know that. But you can take $50 and you can introduce yourself to 2,000 people who didn't know you. And they're going to be more likely to use you because they don't know you. That friend you went to school with don't want to see you coming up like that because they have to admit that they're not willing to do the work. So I put way more money into advertising. Like right now, I'm putting more money into advertising.
Love it.
So that's it.
That's good. All right. So we're going to make you 5 years older now.
All right.
All right. So what's the older version of Tim? What advice is he giving you today?
Spend more time with my family. I work a lot, so, and it's not even like I'm working on something like I retired at 37. I'm 39 now. I spent so much time with my family the last 2 years. I got on their nerves, but I realized how important that was because my son's at that age where I'm eventually not going to be cool anymore.
Yeah, you got to be there right now.
Yeah, and so making sure that I plan stuff with my family. Like, hey, we go on trips and do all this stuff, but like during the week, cut the phones off. Let's eat. Those people are going to be there. They're going to be there arguing with each other for all night long. Like, put that phone down. You don't know those people. You're arguing with a computer, right? These people are not going to run up on you like that in real life. I've had people talk so bad to me, and then I'll see them at an event, and they'll walk up to me, hey, man, I love your stuff. I'm like, man, you was a dude talking all that shit. Man, I'm just trolling you. It's nothing. It's the internet. Relax. And just like, it's the internet. Relax. So put that phone down, spend more time. My mother's getting up there in age. It's like, you only get one of those.
Amen to that.
My grandfather, he's essentially demented at this point. So, I talk to him. He repeats himself 4 or 5 times within a 5-minute period. It's like I used to go out and visit him a lot, prior to COVID. But now, the family's kind of keeping him kind of tucked in. They don't want him to get sick. So I respect that.
Yeah.
But just spend more time with family.
Love it, man. Well, listen, bro, it has been an absolute joy having you in the lab, bro. Like, welcome anytime. Want to wish you tremendous success on the OG podcast. No More OG podcast, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a big one. And so hopefully you were able to pull out a lot of nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life. But at the end of the day, guys, it's really up to you to put them into practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to our guest, Tim Jackson of the No More OGs podcast. And we will see you guys next week on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.